today and yesterday.
Yo, what's going on, guys? In today's video, we are back with the most broken Zane build that you have never seen on YouTube. The great part of this is it's a remake of my first ever Zane build, which was the most broken Zane build on launch at the time.
Okay, fine. The most broken thing to do on Zane is run a CN Dead, redistributor, and then your favorite broken launcher for bossing.
But, like I said, this Zane build is actually insanely strong, and we're going to be doing something that you actually have not seen on YouTube very much, is running one action skill on Zane and chucking grenades. Now, back in Borderlands 3 launch, Zane was the worst Vault Hunter by far. CN Dead hadn't come out yet because it was in the first DLC, and most people were spec'd all the way down Green Tree in Calm, Cool, and Collected builds. Violent Momentum wasn't buffed to be the most broken gun damage skill yet, and Zane was just a bad character. But your boy came up with an infinite grenade Zane, able to solo the Malawan Circle of Slaughter. I was using one action skill and chucking recurring hex grenades. And in today's video, we're finally remaking it after 4 years to be able to solo Hemovorus the Invincible, Malawan Takedown, Guardian Takedown, whatever you want to do in this game. Now, I've got a couple different setups for mobbing, bossing, and we can clear all the content in Mayhem 11. So let's hop straight into the build and show you guys how this all works. Now, the number one skill we are abusing is Pocket Full of Grenades. This is a kill skill. After killing an enemy, Zane gains grenade regeneration for a few seconds. This effect stacks twice. Now, why the hell did they put this in Zane's skill tree? I guess it was supposed to be for boom enhance, but even if you didn't have this, like, you pick up enough grenades mobbing from enemies that you really shouldn't run out. And the fact that you don't throw any, and like if you're going double barrel, your clone ends up getting pretty strong. So like, he didn't need this skill. But we are going to be abusing this by running one action skill and chucking grenades. Now, back in the day, I used to, you know, when the game first came out, we didn't have CN Dead, we actually used to run the Shockerator class mod because it puts points into Pocket Full of Grenades. And I actually found this while farming. I found both of these and I just picked them up. It was kind of a cool throwback for me. But we're going to be using a CN Dead because this gives us 10% effect bonus on our kill skills, and also this just activates all our kill skills easily. And that's what's kind of cool. We don't really need to spam the Mantis shoulder cannon in this build, and I'll talk about some of the gameplay when we're going to be using this, because No Way Out is amazing for pulling in flying enemies. But anyways, so in the red tree, we're just going to get down to Pocket Full of Grenades. You'll notice I tossed some points in Supersonic Man, and you're probably wondering why. And the answer is, when you activate some of your Mantis shots, it actually stacks these skills. Now, technically, you know, I don't know if it stacks Supersonic Man, but I know for a fact it stacks Borrowed Time and it stacks Synchronicity. Neither of these skills are relevant. I had to put one in each to get down the tree, but I just picked Supersonic Man because I like running fast. And the rest of these points don't really matter. Obviously, I took Duct Tape Mod and Donnybrook. Now, into the blue tree, we were really trying to get Death Follows Close. Once again, a lot of these skills don't matter. Obviously pick up Violent Momentum, obviously pick up Violent Speed, obviously pick up Salvation. The only one thing I'll say is don't pick up Cool Hand, because we actually want less reload speed because of a specific gun we're using. I'm sure some of you could guess what it is by this little hint, but we'll go over that later. And in the purple tree, we were really just trying to get down to Proliferation. Now, No Way Out and Proliferation are going to be the best two augments. Proliferation, obviously just for those two additional charges, but No Way Out is amazing. You know, when I'm mobbing in the Malawan Takedown and there's those death balls that fly through the air, pulling them in just so I can throw a grenade at them, or the flying Malawan snipers, or really just any flying enemy in general. Flying enemies are really annoying to deal with. Like Wotan's head, for example, can be really annoying to deal with because it's kind of hard to hit him with a grenade. And No Way Out's not going to help against flying bosses. I would say that's the main weakness of this build, but it still works. None of these points really matter that much. I think Headman's Hand matters because White Elephants actually do get crit damage if they land on an enemy's crit spot. And of course, take Fugitive so you can run and gun. Now, in the green tree, I just tossed a couple points into Ready for Action, and that's just to help with Topped Off. Now, you probably don't even need these here, but as you can see, you know, we just had some fun with this build. You can really, like, you could build a double barrel version of this build using the clone instead of this, because we're not really relying on action skill end. I'm just using the Mantis Cannon, And also because there is a couple action skill end things we care about, but you could run this build without action skill end, and I'll show you guys that once we get to the gear. But just in general, you can have fun with this. Just get Death Follows Close, get Pocket Full of Grenades, and if you're using the Mantis Cannon, get down this tree. But if you're not, you know, you don't actually need anything in this tree, although Fugitive is pretty nice to have. You could go down further in the green tree if you want, but you know, that's not going to help you that much either. Now for the gear, and what ties this build together is the Fish Slap. Now, if you guys want to test this build and find some other cool grenades for me to play with, I tested Hunter Seekers and I do not like their damage formula. They don't get gun damage, but I'm sure there is some cool ways you could build this with other grenades. I just wanted to use the Fish Slap and do the most broken thing possible, and we are comboing this with the White Elephant. Now, why are we using a melee artifact with a melee grenade? Well, most of you know, but the Fish Slap counts as melee and it will trigger White Elephants. More importantly, but we get some double dipping action between these, and let me just pull up some math real quick to show you guys what I'm talking about. So I did some testing on Troy Calypso just to show those of you who don't know about this for this video. But you can see I threw a Fish Slap at Troy. It did 93k damage. And on my card it's 62.5, but we get plus 50% for each enemy damaged. And when it triggers a White Elephant, it does 82k damage. So how do we get that math? So we take 92k, divide that by 2, and then since it's a fire White Elephant, you can see it's red, multiply that by 1.75, and you can see we get just shy of 82. I'm sure the game rounded down somewhere, but the point is the math adds up. Now, where does the double dipping come into play? And that is when you add splash damage. So the White Elephant, the damage that your White Elephant will be is based on the melee hit. When you're throwing a Fish Slap, it's a grenade. So if you add splash damage to your Fish Slap, the Fish Slap gets splash damage. And then the White Elephant is based off of that hit, and it will get splash damage again. So let's go ahead and break down the double dipping math real quick. So I had a 93k base damage hit, so we added 39% splash damage. So let's go ahead and show where this White Elephant damage came from. We ended up getting a 58k corrosive versus flesh White Elephant, and let's just show this. So we have 93k times our 1.39 splash damage. Then, like I said, the White Elephant is half the damage of the melee hit, so we get 64k. Then we double dip. So we do 1.39 again, and then we have to do corrosive versus flesh, which only does 65% on flesh, and that's where we get the 58k from. So what I'm showing you guys is that White Elephants double dip splash damage. They also double dip debuff damage, and this is the main gun I'm using, which is the ThiccFilA's Eruption. So what you do with this gun is when it overheats, it actually shoots out these little beams, and every time, pretty much, you just have to interrupt your reload speed, and that's why I said don't take Cool Hand. We actually want this reloading as long as possible. And what's cool about this is it'll just keep shooting out this beam, it'll keep debuffing enemies, and this is pretty much the only gun you have to use for this build. Now, I'm gonna showcase another weapon that is pretty cool. It's the Shocking Wyvern. Now, what's cool about this gun, and it's pretty hard to find, so you guys could use a Cutsman, is the Shocking Wyvern gets action skill and splash damage, and it's another good option, but I think the ThiccFilA's Eruption is easier to find. Now, obviously, if you don't want to hunt down a frickin' purple weapon with 160% melee damage and action skill and splash damage, I believe a Cutsman is a good weapon to farm, because I think it gets, you know, 60% melee, 80% melee on it, something like that. And it's also able to get the action skill and splash damage anointment. Now, for some of these bossing clips, like the Hemovorus clip, you'll see that I debuffed him with the Eruption, and then I swapped to this, did action skill end, got the splash damage, and that's how I'm pulling off these very, very fast kills. But you can definitely get through with just a ThiccFilA's Eruption. Now, for mobbing, just use the Eruption, and for mobbing, you're gonna wanna put on a red suit. And look at my red suit, no anointment. We actually do not want action skill and elements because we're using a radiation Fish Slap. And if you use action skill and elements, you're gonna kill yourself when you throw a Fish Slap at your feet or if it lands at your feet. Now for bossing, And it's that simple. You can run a transformer and a shock fish slap for mobbing as well, but radiation is always just going to work better for general mobbing. Number one, because I think there's 0 enemies in the game immune to radiation, or at least very few. And then number two, you know, they create radiation explosives, which is pretty cool. Now, you'll notice I'm using a knife drain white elephant, and that's because we don't really have much lifesteal. What's actually cool is the little beams that shoot off the eruption give you lifesteal through salvation. But this was the only artifact I ran in all of these clips. I don't use any of I have some corrosive stones and whatnot, but I don't even put these on for bossing. I just find it's not necessary. And another thing I want to note is if you're using a corrosive stone and your red suit, once again, that's going to be non-radiation damage. You're going to end up putting yourself into fight for your life a lot. Now for bossing, you're going to want to element match to get these clips that I'm getting. And you'll notice, once again, all my fish slaps have on grenade throw, no bonus elements. And that's because this on grenade throw is another example of a V2 damage source. And this is going to double dip through the fish slap when it triggers a white elephant. Now, another thing I want to point out is white elephants only have a 30% chance to trigger, and that's why we are freaking spamming them. The fact that we are spamming these, and you'll notice some inconsistent damage, but if you throw enough of these out there, you're going to get enough white elephant triggers, and you're going to get those big pops of damage that you see in some of these clips. And that is how we're doing it, and that is the last thing I suppose I should mention is that I have a face puncher with URAD. This is simply for fight for your life. You know, we can't throw any grenades in fight for your life. So the face puncher works with the white elephant, but really just get any fight for your life gun. Like you could use a Sandhawk with URAD and it's going to work out fine for you. And that is it for this build, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this remake of my very first build ever on my YouTube channel. And this is absolutely insane at endgame. And it was once the strongest Zane build in the game, at least at launch. While everyone was running calm, cool, and collected, I was just spamming pocket full of grenades. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.